This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company. For more information and links to all our great podcasts, visit hartmanmedia.com.
Welcome to the AIPIS show for accredited income property investment specialists and those who aspire to be. If you're a real estate, mortgage, or financial professional, this is the place for you. We'll explore innovative investment analysis, sales, marketing, and income-generating strategies for the most historically proven wealth creator, income property. Learn from the experts as they show you how to build a better business and a better life.
It is my pleasure to welcome Dilshod to the show. He is the founder of a very interesting and unique website called Musaffa. And this is about halal investing. You know, there's over 1 billion Muslims in the world, and they have special rules when it comes to the world of finance and investing. So we're going to talk about that today. And I think you might be surprised why you need to know about this if you're not Muslim, because it matters to you as well. This is a huge part of the population. I've read many articles about this over the years, but I have never done a show on it. So I thought it would be a very interesting topic today. Dilshod, welcome. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
It's good to have you. Now, interestingly, I happen to be in Dubai, which is a very large Muslim population, obviously, and you are in New York City. So yeah, we've kind of switched places here. Yeah. I guess my first question is, what is halal investing and why should it matter to a Muslim and to non-Muslims?
Yeah, so halal investing means it's what's allowed by Islamic rules, or we call it Sharia. Sharia is actually basically means law. So based on Islamic laws, how Muslims can invest, what's allowed, what's not allowed. And the reason is also, of course, it's very apparent why it's important for Muslims, because that's the rule. As a Muslim, you have to follow. But for non-Muslims, they find it very interesting because it actually, for most non-Muslims, it also aligns with their values, because that's why you hear about social responsible investing, ethical investing. It's actually, I would put all this halal investing, ethical investing, Sharia-compliant investing, ESG, mostly in one basket. So it's one of a kind. So that's why I think like non-Muslim would also be interested, because it most likely aligns with their values as well. So investing in what kind of industries and sectors.
Right. And I know that halal investing has very specific rules about interest and insurance and things like that. But what other rules does it have? I mean, are there a whole bunch of rules? Is it very complex here, or are there just a few?
No, actually, it depends on, we call it AOF methodology. AOF stands for Accounting and Auditing of Islamic Financial Institutions. There is an organization set up for specific purposes to address what Muslims are facing in the current finance world. So if you follow AFM methodology, it's very simple actually. It's not that hard as people think. They look at the business activity and financial activity of the companies. So business activity mainly is deal with what portion of revenue comes from allowed sources, like we call it halal sources. I'll give an example of one of the companies. So again, business activity looks at where they drive the revenue, and financial activity looks like how much they delve into interest related. For example, let's say the company has a lot of cash sitting at the bank, and they invest in interest-bearing, we call it assets, interest-bearing securities, and that's a big factor. So there's a specific formula says that it shouldn't pass specific levels. And also we look at the interest-bearing debt. So the company should not be burdened with a lot of interest-bearing debt. It's okay to borrow debt, but not interest-bearing. So again, the criteria is going through business activities and financial activities of the company. And it's quite straightforward to determine which company could be Sharia-compliant or not.
Okay, so you said something that I think probably blew people's mind if they were listening closely, because you said it's okay to borrow money and have debt as long as there's no interest. Yes. But of course, there's interest, right? How does halal get around the no interest rule?
Okay. There is an Islamic bonds, we call it sukuk. So that's actually when we analyze the companies, and a lot of the Malaysian companies, they use that. So basically, the company can borrow, but instead of interest, they link it to the profit of the company. So that the purpose is even the people who give loans, they should also take risk. So the core
Well, I mean, a normal lender with interest does take risk because the borrower might default,
but it's
of course.
guaranteed fixed rate.
Got it. So you're saying it's more like taking equity than debt.
Yes. That's more like I would say that kind of new concept, like for like non-Muslim people. I completely get that, but the core is like something to be Sharia compliant. You have to go take risk. That's why investing in fixed income is not allowed, but investing in stocks are allowed.
So Sharia basically fundamentally says if you're going to make money, you need to have risk.
Yes. You cannot have money making money guaranteed. Like that's why interest income is completely forbidden, because you cannot just give someone a loan and say, I need 5% fixed no matter what happens.
Right.
So that's a big no.
So those returns for these halal bonds are really unpredictable because they're like equity. They're like really more like a stock in the way they act, right?
They are, but they are not in a way, because they get the debt has to be paid off, then you take care of the investment. Right?
So they are in first position, just like a bondholder or a lender would be, right? The lenders get paid back first if the company's in trouble, then the shareholders, the stockholders get paid after that. So they are in first position, but they're still subject to the ups and downs of the company's business Now, we're talking about companies, by the way, and I want to know, is this true on an individual? Say someone wants to borrow money, a Muslim wants to borrow money for a car or a house. How do they do it? Is it similar to that?
Again, especially a house is a brilliant example, because there's Islamic mortgages is taking off, because once people understand what it means, they love the idea. Because if you buy a house, for example, in traditional sense, you go look at the house, you like it, you ask the bank, I want to buy a house that's $1 million, and they do background check on you, like make sure you make enough money and your credit is good. So give you $1 million. They don't give you the house. They give you $1 million and you own the house, but they hold the title. Let's say you pay mortgage for 29 years and you cannot pay it off. They take your money, they take your house completely at the end of the term, and then they can sell it like for foreclosure. They make all the money. So they're basically saying that I gave you the money, your house is not mine, but it's actually collateral, so I can own your house anytime. So that's traditional, and that's what a lot of people, it's not benefiting people in the long run. But in Islamic world, you look at the house, costs $1 million, bank says, okay, you know what, let's buy it together. So we hold the title together. So banks also taking complete risk. And then let's say you pay it off like 29 years, and at the end you cannot pay it off. And then you sell the house in the market and you just share the profit and loss, because bank holds the title of the house, right, along with you. So they completely go with risk. And a lot of non-Muslims, they're going to find it extremely attractive, because they're not at the end, they're not going to be the losers, right? It's like bank is getting in equity. How do you do that? Every month you pay, let's say we call it ijara, or you pay rent, something like that for the bank until it's paid off. The structure is similar concept, but bank is completely taking risk, reward with you. That's why it's considered like Sharia compliant. That's the biggest difference, I think, in especially when it comes to homes, right? Because bank is not just holding the title as a collateral; they own the house with you.
Okay, so we've had many Muslim clients over the years, and they're just getting regular conventional loans from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Are they just ignoring the rules? Is that what they're doing, or what's happening here?
No, there are specific, like I think scholars, they say if you live in a non-Muslim country, some scholars say it's okay to borrow and pay because you don't have an option. It's not like and there are rules like that. But I'm talking about if you have an option, then you just go and get the Islamic version, because it just makes more sense to you as a humor. It's not just about being.
So if they can't practically do something else, they're allowed to have an exception then, in other words?
Yes, this is like, again, debatable, but a lot of scholars, they say it's okay because you're non-Muslim, and some of them, they say, well, it's not okay. It's still like debatable.
Yeah. In every religion, you have a spectrum of people, obviously, right, that are more or less engaged. Okay, so let's talk about some of the companies, and maybe you want to share your screen and let's show your website to people, because this is quite fascinating. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at two companies. And for those of you who aren't watching on video, if you're just hearing this on audio only, we'll explain it to you. The first company we're going to look at is one we've all heard of course, Apple. Okay, and Apple happens to be halal compliant. But we're going to show you another company in a moment that's not halal compliant, and we're going to tell you why and why not. So tell us about Apple.
Apple is considered one of the companies that's Sharia compliant. As you can see from my screen, I'm going to go ahead and right get to the point. I'm going to show you the report. We call it like Sharia compliance report. So basically, there are two different criteria that from Sharia perspective or we analyze. One is called business screening. That's where we check the business activities of the company, how they derive their revenues. The second one is more considered like financial screening, which we look at the how the company manages finances when it comes to interest. So let's start with the business activities. As you can see here, we are saying that based on analysis of detailed analysis of the revenue sources, so about 95.2% is considered Sharia compliant, which is halal, and we also show exact calculation how we derived it. And let me show you the report. So about 3.83% is considered doubtful. It's like a gray area that you want to stay out of it.
That's probably not compliant. And then some is just blatantly not compliant. Yeah.
Yes, I'll tell you what it is in a minute. And let's say that non-halal portion is strictly like there's a rule, like it's not, mostly it's going to end up being interest income. So as we know that Apple is not in the business of actually making money from money like interest income. They're in the business of software and hardware, which is like core operations of the company. So based on AOP methodology, 95% revenue has to come from allowed sources. In this case, Apple passes screening because if you look at how it's break down the revenue, as you can see, almost 52% of revenue, exactly 51.83% revenue come from selling iPhones.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
So in other words, and I just want to move a little bit faster, they're selling things, real things. They're not in the financialized economy so much. Now, Apple does have a lot of cash on hand. They have a huge treasury, but I guess compared to their revenue for selling hardware and so forth and services, that's the lion's share of their income. So that makes them halal compliant. Okay. Anything else you want to quickly say about Apple before we move to the company that's
quickly is like there's always might be doubtful revenue, which is like they have Apple Music and they have some advertising that's like falls into not all of it, just a little bit portion of it. It still falls under gray area. And
let me ask you about that gray area. So in the doubtful or the gray area, is music a problem just because Sharia doesn't like music, or is it because it's a service rather than a hardware product?
No. Music is some of the music's contents are debatable. Like, is it good for society? Maybe some curse words and stuff like that, you know?
Right.
Or advertising similar way. Apple Music also have Apple TV, and Apple TV has something that, let's say, we don't agree with.
So in other words, Sharia has more of a problem with the actual content of the music or the content of the TV show or the film versus the concept of selling something that's not a hard good. Right?
No, definitely. Your first point is right. It's about the
you can sell services. That's okay.
Of course, you can. 100%. You can sell services. It's just if it's an educational material for children, that's completely fine. But if it's that for adult content, then that becomes a question, right?
Okay.
We have that.
Okay. And what is the totally forbidden is interest, right?
Interest income is totally forbidden because in this case, let's say I can even show you just one quick one. So they made almost like, of course, it's bundled with the dividend income. About 3.75 billion, let's say last report they made profit because as you said, they got tons of cash. So what they do with it, they're gonna deposit into money market or something like that. So interest-bearing security. That's why it's like, but again, that brings us to the next concept is about purification, right? I think that would be very amazing because I think it could be a really good time to link it.
By the way, that's what the word means. The name of the website, Musaffa, is purification, right? Okay.
It means purified, basically.
Purified, close enough, yeah.
How your investments are actually pure or purified.
Okay. So can you purify a non-pure investment? Is that what you're saying?
No. First, you have conditions. So this Apple is barely past the screening because 95% is the cutoff. So based on AOF methodology, they say only up to 5% of revenue that the company generates can be not Sharia compliant.
Okay. So Apple makes it, but they barely make it.
Barely makes it. Yes.
They only get 1 star out of 5.
Yes, because their revenue is very close to being not Sharia compliant.
Okay, got it.
So, and there's another.
I would assume, Dilshod, that most companies on the stock exchange don't comply. They don't make it.
70% of them, I would say.
Don't comply. Okay.
Plus minus 70%. They don't comply.
Okay.
So Apple is one example that comply at least for now. And we have
Mhm.
something called like here, Jason, interesting. We call it view compliance history. We also show quarter to quarter they're complying. A lot of people
Oh,
want to know about it.
interesting. Yeah,
Yes.
fascinating. Okay.
So
All right.
they don't want to invest in company comes and goes or out of Sharia compliance,
All right.
right? Yes.
Yeah, got it.
So
Okay, show us a company that doesn't comply. I know which one you're going to show, by the way, but
yes.
the audience doesn't.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and I think classic example is banks
yeah.
because I would like to probably Bank of America could be a really good example. As you can see here, let's open the report.
Here's Bank of America, and it is not halal approved, so it does not comply. And boy, this one looks bad. It's got red all over it. Yeah.
Yes, because again, interest income, as you can see, 71%. Or if you
Yeah.
look at the dollars, they made like over 110 billion they made from interest income,
Okay.
which is it's the biggest no, right? So you
Right.
cannot even consider going near this bank, to be honest, because the reason is like again interest income, and there's a very good reason behind it. I think a lot of society, regular people would agree because again, money makes money, rich get richer, poor get poorer. So it's not really helping with the society, right? But it became a norm in traditional finance. So I think the Bank of America could be one of the companies actually very, very like I would say no.
I want to circle back to that big question. And
Yes.
that question is, why should a non Muslim care about this? I
Okay.
think we need to address the 6.5 billion non Muslims in the world and talk about why it matters to them, if it does.
Okay.
Maybe it doesn't, but tell us why you
It
think it
definitely
might.
does. I know
Okay.
some companies, Sharia compliant companies, more than 50% of customers are actually not Muslims,
Right.
interestingly.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and if
Why?
because
Why?
of this, if I go here more, I'm gonna go something like screen methodology. Let me show it to you. These
Yeah.
are prohibited business activities, and tell me like how many percent of non-Muslim might agree with that.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, you're just talking about what people would consider sin investments or non-sin investments or
not
ethical
necessarily the
investing.
same.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
ethical investing or social responsible investing overlaps like almost 89%.
Yeah. 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 No, I understand that completely. So no gambling, alcohol, et cetera.
Yeah, all
Okay.
those things
Yeah.
are no, for example, and a lot of non-Muslims they actually like it. They don't want to invest in weapons and arms, maybe,
Mhm.
they don't want to invest in like the biggest difference, of course, like this excess debt I was talking about. There's like, the companies. One nice thing about this Sharia compliance also, you cannot invest in a very very heavily debt companies because those companies anyway, if the economy goes down, usually they also go down, right? Because they have too much debt, too much interest. So
Yeah.
that also avoids. You see that excess debt is not allowed.
Okay. But I want to try and make a distinction here. There are many companies that non-Muslims would consider ethical investing candidates that would not comply with halal. So I really want to ask, why should a non-Muslim care about this, the halal investing? There are other websites and information sources out there that'll give you socially responsible investments, right? And I know that yours are all considered socially responsible, but there's another layer that people would still consider socially responsible without Sharia.
That's
So
why I'm
tell us.
saying it's not
Yeah.
exact same, but there's about 80 to 90% overlap.
Okay,
I would
got
say
it.
that. I
I
think that
think
answers
that
the question.
the non-overlapping areas that I could definitely see would be interest and insurance,
Yes, interest,
right?
insurance,
Most
and
people would consider those okay and ethical and socially responsible. So
yes,
yeah,
yes. So
okay. Do you
to
want?
answer your question, it's just for non-Muslims, it could be one of the good options. That's what I would say.
Right. Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. Anything else you want to share with people?
I want to share
Yeah.
something called purification. And I
Okay.
think that the question comes, for example, why are you allowing, if there's interest or there's some doubtful revenues, how are you, Sharia allows to invest in this?
Well, it's because you allow 5% of that questionable
Yeah,
stuff.
that's a solution to the modern times. Because let's say, Jason, we say 100% revenue has to be halal. So there wouldn't be any single company in the world
Yeah,
probably.
no one would make it.
Yes, no one would make it because even the
No,
very, very good intention, you have some money in the bank, automatically generates interest. So
sure.
the solution is the Sharia is saying, look, this is exception important point. That's why I want to point out, Jason. The Sharia says as long as 95% revenue or more Sharia compliant, and it also passed the financial screening, which is like, I'm going to come in 1 minute. So it says, let's say you can invest in this one, Apple 95.2%, that 4.8 percent is like still doubtful and not halal, the Sharia says, okay, this is a solution. You're investing in Apple only on their core operations. You're not investing in Apple's interest income or doubtful revenue. You're not investing. So by investing in it, automatically you're disassociating yourself with its interest income and doubtful. That's why as soon as you make profit, and that portion of 4.8% of the profit automatically goes to charity. Because I'm saying as a Muslim, I have nothing to do with it. That's why it goes to charity. All I'm investing in the core operations of the company, not the.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's how you purify an investment.
Yes, because it's a solution for a problem. Because if you're gonna come and say it's 100% has to be halal, Muslim would be already they're a big disadvantage in the financial world, right?
Yeah, right.
They can only invest very, very small portion. As Muslim, we cannot invest in derivatives, in fixed income. Crypto is still questionable. So there's already very limited to only equities. And then if you're going to say that it has to be 100% Sharia compliant, there would be nothing to invest. So 95% is strict rule, corporations, but whatever they make on the side, that's not the part of the corporations. Automatically, even by investing, I'm saying disassociating myself with the interest income. As soon as I receive that portion of the profit, that percentage, and goes to charity. That's extremely important portion. And one last thing, when I know we talk about business screening only, Jason, for financial screening is also important. If the interest-bearing securities of the company, like, should not exceed 30% of the market cap of the company. So that's another metric. That's very important because it can pass the business activity. Let's say 99% of the revenue sharing compliant, but then they have so much cash sitting or and accruing interest. Or the last point, interest-bearing debt should not exceed 30% of the market cap of the company. So again, that avoids to investing in largely very, very heavy companies who's actually invested in interest. For example, Ford is a very good example. Ford, a lot of people say it's a car company. Why cannot invest? Because they have a lot of debt.
Okay.
And you cannot invest because you have extreme lot of debt and those interest-bearing securities gonna go over. So basically that's the solution, And the good news is, like Jason, I want to point something out. Imagine every single country in the world. Right now, we have over 200 countries. People are using the Musaffa platform. I would say it's a global solution to a global problem for Muslims when it comes to investments, because every single country you can imagine someone is registered and using the platform. It means the platform is truly global in nature. We have more than 200 countries.
Sure. Yep. Good stuff. Okay, well, this has been very interesting, Dilshod. The website is musaffa.com.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you for sharing this with us. It's fascinating. People can go there without even being a member, and you can look up company profiles and stuff right on the front page. So it's a handy tool, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.